Hi, Year 7. Yes, you guessed it. Today is our last lesson on cells, and we're going to look at unicellular organisms. I'm sure you can guess what unicellular means. Cellular obviously means cells, and uni means one, like a unicorn has just one. After today's lesson, we need to know how to describe and name some examples of unicellular organisms, how to label and describe the structure of an amoeba, and how to label and describe the structure of a Euglena. So those are the two unicellular organisms that we're going to look at. And again, with this topic of cells, there are lots of new words to look at. There is unicellular, flagella, and one flagella is called flagellum, and an amoeba, pseudopods, and Euglena. Here's just an example of a unicellular organism. It's a minion. There you go. So minions are small yellow creatures who existed since the beginning of time. I'm not sure why I'm telling you this, because you know this much better than I do. They evolved from unicellular organisms into more complex beings. There's a unicellular minion. They exist only to serve history's most despicable masters. And if you're looking at the PowerPoint and you click on the minions, you can hear them sing the banana song if you really. Now test yourself by filling in the missing words. You can use the words in the green box. And if you give yourself a minute, pause the video and see if you can put the words in the right spaces, and then you can look at the answers on the next slide. Okay, here are the answers. So to read the sentences, not all living organisms are as complicated as we are. The first organisms that existed on Earth were made up of just single cells. We call these unicellular organisms. They are not plant or animal cells, as they are more complicated. Here is a picture of an amoeba. Information about the amoeba and the structure and the names of the parts. So the four parts we need to look at are the nucleus, which we've seen in all the cells except from the red blood cell. That controls the growth and reproduction. The contractile vacuole removes the water and waste. The cell membrane, as usual, contains the cytoplasm. And the pseudopods change shape to help the body move. If you are going through the PowerPoint, in fact you can see it on the video as well, here's a little animation of how an amoeba moves, and you can see the pseudopod changing shape to help it move. And just down the bottom on the right, I've pointed out the spelling again, and singular and plural. One pseudopodium, many pseudopods. A pod means foot. Think of a podiatrist who works on your feet. So that's an amoeba. The next unicellular organism we're going to look at is the Euglena. They live in fresh water, and they've got one new structure inside the cell that we haven't seen before. So as usual, there's a nucleus to control growth and reproduction, but the new structure is an eye spot which can detect light. The flagellum spins to move the Euglena towards the light, and chloroplasts, as usual, trap energy from the sun to make food by photosynthesis, and the cell membrane contains the cytoplasm. So on this slide you can see an animation of how a Euglena moves by spinning its flagellum. And it moves towards the light because the eye spot is responsive to light. So what do amoeba and Euglena eat? An amoeba eats algae, bacteria, plant cells. They surround the food and absorb it through the food vacuole. The Euglena use light from the sun to make food by photosynthesis. If there is no light, they eat bacteria and algae. by surrounding and absorbing them. How do they reproduce? They reproduce by a method called binary fission. And binary means two, and fission means split. So they split into two. You start with the parent cell, then the nucleus divides, then the cytoplasm divides, and then you have two daughter cells. There's the parent cell, there's the nucleus dividing, the cytoplasm dividing, and then there are two daughter cells. I'll just let that play again. Okay. And you can see with binary fission how quickly they multiply. When one splits into two, two splits into four, it's an exponential increase in cells. Here's a test for you. So I'd like you to pause the video and then test yourself on the answers, and then on the next slide you'll see the answers. So the question is, where are these features found? Are they found in amoeba, Euglena, animals or plants, or all four, or just some of them? There are all the answers. I suggest you go back through the PowerPoint, giving yourself more time to try and work out the answers before you look at them. That's the end of today's lesson. If you haven't finished your cell models, you've got time to keep working on them or submit what you've already done. In the next lesson on Wednesday, we'll give you some time to revise, and there will be an end of chapter test on Caboodle on Thursday. And I will try to set up a Kahoot game on Wednesday so that we can have a go at that as part of our revision. So this is the 5th biology lesson on unicellular organisms, and it's the last lesson. Next you'll learn about levels of organization.